Recording in progress.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
There is a huge burden on you who became satellites. Try to understand that with what happened in Linz this week, and with the first test, we have set a precedence for the whole change of the structure. Your child cries, he doesn't talk. You reach his soul, you understand where the pain is. You have a mentally handicapped child. You want to know how you can bring the change. You reach the soul. Does the physicality matter? Those of you who are beautiful people will come to understand, to see all the members of the family within the one physical structure. We shall see from what we saw this week, end of what I call, or the beginning to an end of the knowledge of what we built and nourished as prisons. We see an end to addiction. We see an end to criminality, and we see an end to kingship. We see the beginning of how we transmute people's soul, elevate them, nourish them, and like a dream you had, return back to them. What we saw this week in Linz, without a doubt, will bring massive changes to many of us. And as a head of the Keshe Foundation and responsible for setting up the One Race Planet, as I have agreed before I arrived here, will endeavor to bring that as fast as possible to be applicable. That it brings a positive change. The world is going through a position of mayhem, not knowing uncertainty, and this uncertainty is creating more problems in the coming months and years. And we are here to use it to change the course of peace. We are not standing for elections. We are not standing to interfere with powers. We elevate the soul of the man in a very massive way. Now there are physical systems, and it can be shown, and it will be developed for all levels of understanding. This process of transmutation of the soul and transmutation of the soul of physicality, which is confirmed this week, will bring us many, many changes. Will bring us amazing amount of changes. I hope, as human race, as knowledge seekers, you understand what you have entered into and what you have brought to be, and what is about to come, and how much change it will come and bring for all of us.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 85th public meeting for testimonials here on Monday, December 11th, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Cramond, and I'll be host once again in this monthly series of workshops. And once again, I have Mark as a co-host. Thank you, Mark, for being here today and supporting these broadcasts. And yeah, I think we have a number of items to have a look at today, and I'm sure as we get into it and we hear from others, we'll have another fascinating and wonderful testimonials workshop here. Now, let me see, how should we begin? Is there anyone who has a testimonial that they need to show or tell about at the very first of our program here? Now would be a good time to say something about that. Otherwise, we'll move into a few things we have lined up. So, does anyone care to go to be our first, to dive into the pool of testimonials here? Or you want to wait a little bit till the water's a little warmer, perhaps?
Did you mention that includes a $500 shopping spree in the Keshe Foundation store, Rick?
That you're paying for? Yes, yes, we can definitely make that announcement, Mark.
Then I'm in it. But
Oh.
I have to offer something too.
Okay, it got your blood going anyways. Good plan, Mark. Almost it worked.
Yeah, first I have to apologize. I'm right now not able to transmute, so I would have been home. Right now I'm on the way back home. But what I want to say is, let's say about the last 2 months, I start giving unconditional love, and it brought me every time. It brought me tears of joy in my eyes, and it was very, very fulfilling, to say it that way.
Can you give an example of one of the times that happened? What was the events that led up to it?
I mean, in former times, I had several lifetime period relationships, to say it that way. But now I find the one and only one, and I give unconditional whatever I can give in time, in emotion, in everything I can, and it's so fulfilling just to give unconditional. I can invite everybody to do it that way. It's very, very satisfying. Very satisfying, yeah, to say it that way.
Are you talking about your family or your lover or your partner?
About my lover, yeah. About my lover, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry. I have to mute for a minute because my bus is coming. Sorry.
Okay. Right. So. All right. That was a great example of getting a testimonial in quickly before at the very beginning here, just in the nick of time.
And there may be some secrets in giving. I know Mr. Keshe said we have to teach you how to give, so there may be some...
Well, this is what I'm trying to extract. Exactly, Mark. We need to know more of Dirk's secrets here in terms of what I'm looking for, more like a practical example of, like you gave your lover some roses one day out of the blue, or whatever, something that might...
I mean, a lot of poetry and nice pictures every day on WhatsApp, and when we meet, it's undescribable because it's just giving without any thoughts behind it, like it was in former times. So it's totally different, totally.
So are they getting the impression, Dirk, that you're thinking about them more often, or?
Yeah, sure, all the time.
Oh, okay. And this is quite elevating to that other person, of course.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely, yeah.
So they feel it from you then. They feel there's something, you're giving, and they actually feel they're reving your unconditional love.
I can describe it as a Cinderella story, because she was in a golden cage. In her family, she has 2 sisters, and she's the one who is the most intelligent of all of them, but is treated because of her body height as a little child. But she's 27. And now it turns just the other way around, and she gives me the strength and the power to start writing a script for a movie, which we will record next year when the script is ready and the book. And as you can imagine, the title will be planet opener injection for world peace. So my idea behind it is to bring it to the cinema, that everybody knows about Mr. Keshe and all what's going on right now, which is censored in the West.
Sorry, what was the title again, Dirk?
Planet opener.
Planet
opener injection for world peace.
Injection for world peace. Okay. Huh. Okay, that's a really good plan.
And as I said in the beginning, of course, all the knowledge seekers will get a free ticket for cinema in the area.
Perfect.
But I guess it will start in during Christmas time next year. Then it will be ready.
Boy, that's a big project. Congratulations. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's what I get in return: the strength and the power to bring it to paper and to bring it in front of the camera.
Right, which can elevate you and others in the future as well. So this is the way to go to elevate. Yes, to hit the next level.
Yeah, because I got the experience that the people here in the West, or the ordinary people, has to be informed somehow in big numbers, and I guess a movie will be the easiest way to reach them. I mean, a book will be there, but the movie is even more. It's even better to reach as much people as possible in a short time.
Yeah, you can reach them emotionally better through images and words in the movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will roll out. It will start to give a little to tell a little bit about it. It will start with the Rothschilds and goes over Nikola Tesla and Einstein, and then to Mr. Keshe and Einstein's reincarnation till today. And when these both people and all knowledge seekers work together, we will reach the goal of bringing world peace to this planet. But that will be the world peace. I guess that will be in the second or third part, when this goal will be reached.
Plus, you can have an endless number of sequels to it.
And I guess because it's based on a lot of facts, it will be more successful than Star Wars and Harry Potter together.
Mm-hmm.
That at least what I think. Because Star Wars is just a fairy tale, and Harry Potter is the little guy playing with a stick. But when you just inject energy into the planet and turn all the cars into all the colors of the cars into new, and relax the people in a time of several minutes at one time, that's a little bit more than Harry Potter was able to do. And this happened this year. So I'm very confident that it will be successful in what kind of form we will see.
So would this be in English or in multiple languages, or German?
Multiple languages, of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a guy who will, a friend of mine, he looks a little bit similar to Mr. Keshe, and he already agreed to play him. I'm very happy about that.
Oh, that's a difficult role.
Yeah, absolutely, but he's from Afghanistan, and he speaks Farsi, so...
Perfect.
Well, I mean, I have a picture of him. If you give, I guess if I can manage it here on my smartphone, I can show it to you.
Yeah, you maybe should have his permission. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, sure.
If he's okay with that.
You're right. You're right. I will ask him next
But
week.
we'd love to see it. It'd be really nice to see.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm really a lot of energy is flowing through myself right now. Positive energy going forward.
Now, this feeling of unconditional love that you mentioned, is that does that include in your interactions with others besides your girlfriend, and so on?
Absolutely. Till that time, I can see it, and in the reactions of people I met, just strangers, they react very, very positive to myself. That's what I.
So you're like secretly giving all the time, basically. You get into that mode.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it all in the physicality, or are you learning to receive love through your soul, give love through your soul, and then they transmute it into the physicality? And Mr. Keshe mentioned about this. Or is it partial physical? You buy a flower or some chocolate or do something like that, or mostly through the energy dimension?
Both. Yeah. And yeah, well, I mean, especially I'm just the strangers I met. They never saw me before, but they're all well. They're smiling. They're happy. They feel that I'm sending unconditional love to all around myself. That's what I just mentioned all the time till that day.
Yeah, you'll probably find that people will open up to you and tell you intimate details about their life and their problems and so on and so forth, because they inherently trust that being who has that who's putting out that unconditional love. And that's, imagine if everyone on the planet had that. We're putting that out and or receiving it, and in a way that
then we got it. We reached the goal of world peace.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. You know, they can have a different position than you, but if you're both feeling a deep love for the being that's there, not just the physicality, but the presence of that being, and knowing that they can receive love and you can receive love and give love, and unconditionally, without having to put a frame on it and so on. So that's a very, very powerful, yet with humility at the same time, because if you don't have the humility, that means you're getting in between that unconditional love. You're putting that physicality or your mind or something.
There's no mask anymore.
Right, it gets pretty raw. It's like, it's a raw emotion. That's that unconditional love.
Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming. It's so powerful.
It is. It really is. Yeah. I first had to get used to it, and I'm still not in a normal mode, to say it that way.
You probably never will be again, because it's always a little bit upsetting. It's always a little bit, you have to be so giving all the time. It's like, oh, give, and
the more you give, the more you get.
Yes, right.
In another way, yeah.
And you're taking up to a new level with the, you'll be getting people involved in this movie making venture and probably a number of other things. And as you say, when you get that energy going, then it gives to you so you can give to others, so you can do more of the giving and receiving, basically. And that's the whole name of that game.
Yeah, it's a chain reaction.
Yes. Yes, the best kind of chain reaction that we can have on the planet. I think we need to get that chain reaction going before other destructive chain reactions start happening.
We had a lot of.
It's kind of a race. This is the real arms race. Putting arms around each other to hug each other, or sending arms for destruction. That's the race. That's the bottom line. It comes right down to it. And we know who's going to win, because unconditional love always wins. There's nothing that can withstand the force of unconditional love.
I describe it that way. We have the ability to just turn on the light and the darkness immediately disappears.
Exactly. And if that happens on the planet, it can happen overnight from that chain reaction once it gets going. And we're all part of that. The knowledge seekers have been holding the light and lighting the light for a decade or more, and Mr. Keshe has been pushing, as we know, as he's probably the hardest pusher on the planet for this thing to occur.
Yeah, he made the right decision by not doing it just as in a Rambo type of way, but to collect as many other knowledge seekers as possible. So that was a big error all the others made in the past, from Tesla on till he came, and that was a perfect way to do it. Otherwise, he also would have had no chance to reach that goal. And he knew it, and he went the right way.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you, Dirk.
Yeah, they say, oops, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to say about that, but maybe something will come to mind as we continue along here, and please come back in, Dirk, if you do have something else you want to share. So go ahead.
Sure. No, I was just thinking, he said his writing skills, or he's been motivated to write a tract in a way, or a transcript for a movie. So this is quite interesting that by you giving to the lover, somehow the lover, you said, motivated you to want to write this. It's not a soundtrack, but a track, or I forgot what they call that in the movie.
A movie, yeah. A script.
So that extra impetus is really coming from your friend.
Yeah, because we just checked that her task in her life is to be an artist. She starts with the piano. It touched my soul, and then we just checked that she is also very good in acting from the start. She doesn't have any acting school or anything like that. She just has the talent, and that's what convinced me to start writing the script, especially for her and the others. So that was the way it started.
All right.
Yeah, maybe we'll all become more creative as we give more, perhaps, Rick. That could be a motivating factor, or some sort of fountain that opens up our creativity in a way.
Sure, it's that fountain of youth, and That unconditional love, kind of, you drop all the considerations of physicality, all your niggling problems and issues and health problems and everything else drops by the wayside. All the emotional issues, all the fears, because they can't exist in that space of unconditional love. Because unconditional love is unconditional. It burns up anything that that is not unconditional love. Because it is the love from the Creator. It is not just love from some other physicality. And it has that power to persevere and be recognized and respected, basically. At the same time, it's subtle. It can any overwhelming physicality stuff could easily cause it to disappear, because it can also be sort of banished by heavy physicality mode. It's hard to have unconditional love if someone's screaming at you, for example. But that is the most important time to be able to do it. But it's also the most intense. And if that person just feels unconditional love that's screaming at you, they'll probably stop screaming pretty quickly and maybe even apologize or suddenly shake hands with you, or change their mood and mode of operation. Or they could be get even more angry because they get even more determined to get their point across, and it's not sticking on you, because if you're under unconditional love, then you're not being influenced by physicality, emotions, and other things that might be coming at you. It's like a protective shield of love, of energy.
I just make the experience when I give unconditional, I only meet people who don't cry at you, who just be kind and love to see you and love to be near you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this process is almost basically free. I mean, it's not that you have to take a course or you have to buy anything in a way. It's basically done within your own self, or between the two reactors. There's no monetary, in a way, needed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We all can do it.
It might take you a lifetime to get there, but
that's right.
Of pain and suffering. But whatever it takes, But on the other hand, it could be instantaneous. You could meet that perfect person that opens up your heart, and all of a sudden it's all about unconditional love, and all the pain and suffering comes out and goes away, and you just feel this, wonderful love. And then you can reflect that up into the entire world, rather than just the personal relationship one-on-one. But just getting a taste of it with the lover you can leapfrog from that. It's a taste of the elevation to have that unconditional love between two people. But it's actually the unconditional love for the planet, the universe, the entire totality. Go ahead, Dirk, you were going to say something there?
Yeah, I just want to say that, well, I lost it, sorry, later.
Okay. All right, let's carry on here. I guess while we're talking about love, we can mention the workshop coming up, and then maybe we can talk about the workshop that was. So we have the Meeting the Soul of the Lover, it's called. Zoom workshop, private Zoom workshop, coming up Friday, December 22nd. And that'll be in 11 days, basically. And it's €300 plus VAT. And you have a Zoom number to call in to, and it'll be a closed session with headphones, and you leave your microphone and headphones open during this session, but it will be silent at the same time. So far as we know, that's the way the previous sessions have gone. Mr. Keshe will have a sort of a short orientation, no doubt, and he's been also mentioning this workshop in the last Knowledge Seekers workshops, giving some hints and direction how the workshop might go. And the write-up on it, let me see if I can just find that here. Just had it recently. The goal of this session is to teach you how to love. We'll create the conditions for you to learn how to give, how to become a lover, and how to start the process of giving without expectation to receive, so that you can go in space and become the passenger of the universe, become passengers of the universe.
And then there was something about you may find out if you're one of the lovers that like to receive love, or do you like to give love? And then maybe by extending each one of those, you can flip to the other. Again, I'm not sure about that, but I think that's part of it, finding out which kind of lover you are. The one that likes to receive or the one that likes to give. And then I think if you focus on that, just as we see with the acid and the alkaline, how they can flip. Perhaps.
Interesting.
And you become both a giver and receiver simultaneously.
Well, yeah, I think that's the plasma position, basically. It's kind of the way of the universe. You can't always be just a giver. I mean, even our central star, the sun, it gives its energy, and it's giving and giving, but it's also receiving, and that's something that wasn't really looked at many years ago by scientists and so on. It's we consider the sun giving off energy, gives off heat and certain radiations and different frequencies and whatnot. But is it receiving at the same time? Well, it turns out, yes, there's a significant flow coming from planets such as the Earth, where we have particles leaving through the poles, the North Pole specifically, and being ejected off into space and returning back to the sun. And so essentially the Earth is feeding the sun. And other planets also have significant contributions back to the sun. As well, it may be receiving from the central sun of the universe, or of our galaxy in particular. But if you were to meet the sun head on, you would say it was a giver more than a receiver, because it would be overwhelmingly giving its energies to anyone who comes close to it. Even out in the heat of high noon in the sun, in many places, is enough to to cause some consideration for the physicality if it's not coated in oil or something to clothes or hats and other things to prevent the sun from frying our skin. Gives too much. So how much can we handle? Some people are used to the sun. They can be out in the sun and handle the rays even in the heat of the day. They call them surfers. Maybe if you're a soul surfer surfing the universe, you're used to the rays, the principal rays that are coming from the core of the galaxy or the core of the universe, and you can perhaps build up a resistance to those rays and learn how to allow them to pass through you rather than, maybe resistance would be the wrong word for it. Maybe you have to build up a way of allowing the rays to pass through without causing too much resistance in you, because that's where there's resistance of the rays, that's where they transmute, and that's where you start to feel them. And if they're too strong, you would want them to pass through rather than landing on you and causing issues. Okay, maybe we can have a look at the previous workshop from last month, which was called Transmutation of Light. And it says for this one was Friday, November 24th, and says in this session we tried to show the possibility of creation of light through the interaction of the fields within the body of the man and its environment. So basically it's the friction of the fields between the body and its environment, and specifically using the hands as a means to bring this about. Now I'll tell you about my experience, which was kind of interesting in this Transmutation of Light workshop. First of all, I'll say I was quite exhausted before the workshop, and I didn't have a chance to have a sleep or a good nap before the workshop, which in my time starts at 3 a.m. in my time, which is normally when I get to sleep. I'm usually up till 3 and then I conk right out. So here I am at 3 a.m. starting the workshop, which is going to go for 2 or 3 hours, and I'm quite exhausted. So I'm recognizing that and trying to keep it together and function and keep awake and so on. And I had, again, I'll relay the conditions. We have headphones on during this workshop, as well as the microphone open. So I'm lying there with the headphones and microphone open, and I'm on a sort of a semi-reclined or reclined position. I've got a pillow underneath my futon mattress, so I'm not horizontal but partly upright, but still quite reclined. So it's important to sort of envision the position here. It's not my normal sleeping position, and I deliberately made it inclined so it's comfortable for that time period, so I'm not sitting in a chair, and at the same time it helps me to keep awake. So I'm lying there in this semi-reclined position, and my knees are bent So my knees are quite high. I'm lying down. And I have my hands, I've been working with the hands a bit, but at this particular time I've got them relaxed. My arms are relaxed by my side, and my hands are sitting on the upper parts of my legs, the thighs of my legs, you could say, upper thigh. And I've got them both resting on my thighs, and I'm lying there with my eyes closed and just kind of relaxing and getting into the sort of the meditative space of this workshop, which is, you're listening to dozens of other quiet people trying to be quiet. Everybody's trying to be as quiet as possible. One of the rules is that if you make excessive noise, then they have to bump you down into the attendees, and you won't be able to, your microphone will be turned off. So I found myself, I was lying there, and all of a sudden I found myself waking up. So I'd obviously fallen asleep, but before I could even respond to whether my microphone is on or off or anything else, I immediately noticed that my hands were totally burning, like I would say the hottest I've ever felt my hands, as if they've been really close to a wood-burning stove or some sort of red-hot element or something. And they were both still on my thighs, and somehow that position, or just, when you have your hand, you rub your hands together, or you put them on your body, eventually they'll kind of get warm and so on. But this was like totally burning, so much that I took my hands off and just involuntarily started shaking my hands to cool them off and waving them back and forth and so on. And then I realized, whoa, I've created heat in my hands. This is interesting. This is kind of like what the workshop is about. And heat is infrared rays. It's a form of radiation, a form of light. And here was my hands on fire. And I thought that was quite interesting. And even though I got kind of kicked out of the workshop for snoring, that's how I actually woke up. I heard snoring, and unfortunately it was me. So I realized then I'd gotten bumped out, and my snoring had interrupted others, so automatically they mute your microphone, put you into attendees. So I had that experience, but it was worth it for this burning hands experience, which I've never felt such a strong sensation in my hands like that. It was like all the nerves were on fire. So that's my story of the transmutation of light session. I got back into it after that and caught the very end, but does anybody else have anything they would like to share about the transmutation of light session from last month?
I can tell something.
All right, go ahead, please.
Yes, yeah, during the session, I think after maybe half of the session, half of the session, my eyes are always closed. I like in a meditation, and always it was black for my eyes because they are closed. And yeah, suddenly a light came into the black. I didn't open my eyes or so. They were closed, and really a light comes through this dark shadow, and it stays there for maybe, I don't know, a few seconds. I was playing with it. Yeah, then I think, I don't know, it disappeared, but it was, I haven't had it any other time when I was meditating. I just have it when I open my eyes during meditation and then look into the light, and then I close my eyes, and you have the light, a little light ball from your on your eyes. But this time I didn't open them, and suddenly a light came into the darkness. And the other thing was my body became like electricity shocks. Yeah, so little electricity shocks, sometimes on my hand or on my leg, a few times. Yeah, this was my experience.
And was the light like a ball of light, or was it like
Yeah.
rays radiating out from the light?
Yeah, it was yeah, not like a really ball. Yeah, it was shading out a bit, but I was playing with it a bit. It's I didn't remember so good. It's so long ago.
Unknown caller.
Yeah, and I was playing with it, and it was going smaller and bigger, and yeah, it was a few minutes there. Yeah, and then I don't know what happens then if I open my eyes or it went away. I don't know. I don't remember, but it was really a nice test, because I never had this. I told you I have this when I close my eyes during meditation, and when I open it during the meditation and look into the sun or into the LED or whatever, then you close the eyes. I think maybe others have this too.
Yeah, you get an afterglow, they call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. An afterglow, yes. And this was really during the closed eyes. After a long time, I don't know when, but it was nearly to the end of the session. This light came, but not in my hands, or it's just
But you said you played with it in a way. So how did you play with it? You didn't have any hands to play with it, I guess. So did you manipulate it? You tried to change it somehow, or tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I must think of it. I don't know. I think with my thoughts, because when you, for example, you look into the light and you have this afterglow, you can play with it too when you have the eyes closed. I think when you become bigger, it becomes bigger or smaller or whatever. And so like this, I was thinking of, and then it becomes bigger or smaller or went left, right.
Mm-hmm. And this light stayed for like a minute or so, or how any idea how, well, it's hard to say in that state, I guess.
Long, not maybe about 1 minute. I cannot say how many minutes or seconds, but not just a few seconds. It was really long.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I didn't remember when it was disappearing, because it's a long time ago. I didn't remember so good if I was really open my eyes and something other was on the workshop, or if it disappears suddenly, like it comes. But it was a long time there, really a long time. For me, like you told, it's an afterglow, and when you have an afterglow, it stays longer. This afterglow, no?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's longer than the afterglow.
Yeah, depending. Like there's welders, for example, people doing welding as a profession, or even trying it. You can accidentally get a shot of the welding light, and if that happens, you can get an afterglow for quite some time. It can actually damage your eyes, that intense of a light source.
Yeah, okay, but I
So
don't mean
depending
such.
on how intense it is, if you look into an LED, some of them are quite intense and it could leave an afterglow for quite some time.
Yeah, not so much. Like look in the sun for a few minutes, or look in a here LED some seconds.
Yeah.
Be careful looking into the sun. Don't do it during the what do you call it? The
Sun gazing?
Most times.
the time when the sun's being obscured by the moon. The
Oh, the eclipses.
the eclipses. I did it
yeah.
once when I was young, and
I
I
know.
was about probably 14, 15 years old. And sure enough, I damaged my eye, and I squinted, and I thought, oh, I can get away with it for a few seconds to look at that eclipse. No, it's not a good idea. It left like a black spot. If I try to focus, and especially in one of my eyes, on something at a distance, I just see a little black spot there still. So I have to
And how
kind of
long?
look to the side of it a little bit in order to see.
Oh,
So it's definitely, sun gazing can be okay. You do that at usually as the sun is setting or rising, and it's a different procedure, and the eyes, it can be very beneficial and so on. But the eclipse, strangely enough, with most of the sun obscured by the moon, you would think that it would be better for you to look at the sun during that time, but it isn't.
no.
I was quite, I thought logically it should be okay, but no, it's not a good idea. You're supposed to actually use the same kind of glass that that welders use to do welding glass to look at the eclipse. So that's another example of the rays and how the rays can be harmful to our physicality if they're too strong, or if we don't have the correct environment to be observing those rays.
Yeah, but didn't know you, because everyone tell you when a sun eclipse is going on that you have to wear a 3D glasses or something like this, these special glasses. They will sell on every corner. They were sold on every corner when such things happen. And how long does it take your blacks point in the eye?
How long?
Yes.
Oh, I still have it. It's still with me 50 years later.
Wow. Oh my God.
So that's why I'm saying it's permanent damage. So don't play with that one, boys and girls. Don't try that at home. I did it for you, so now you don't have to.
But they tell you, they told you that you have to wear the special glasses. On every corner you could buy these glasses.
Oh, not in no, I'm talking about 50 years ago, and
yeah, and I know I have this 15 years ago. That was my
50,
first,
50 years ago, not 15 years ago. 50. I'm an old timer.
Yeah, me too, but no, I mean not this one. When I was 30, I think, 20 years ago, there was one. 50 years, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I was, I'm always a bit of a smart ass, so I thought I knew better. I already worked out the science. Most of the sun was being blocked, so why would it affect me worse? And it's still a little bit strange why that happens, but it has to do with the UV rays and whatnot, so you got to be careful, that kind of thing. Anyway, let's get back into what else is there anything else that you were feeling during this workshop, or
No, that was all. I think it was really much for me and really special with this light. No, that was all. The electricity shocks and this light coming suddenly.
Mm-hmm. Was it a white light, basically, or did it have any particular color to it?
I think, I don't know, so it's long ago. I didn't remember. I think it would be not white, little bit yellowish, but really I don't know.
Okay.
I
Like
don't
a little
remember.
sun, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any experiences of the transmutation of light session they would like to share? Did you have something with that, Mark, that you were saying, or?
Yeah, I could just share what I noticed. Again, we were reading the workshop before, and Mr. Keshe said we're not really looking for the light; we're looking for enlightenment. So we got into the session, and of course, the email that you receive don't come in with any expectations. I started the session, and I had my eyes closed, I think, if I can remember. As Stephanie said, sometimes you can't remember exactly. But trying to wish for enlightenment. But then at the same time, in the back of my mind, it was saying, see if you, because Mr. Keshe, when the session started, he said, try to create that light between your hands. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, he told us in the workshop we're trying to find enlightenment, not so much the light. So, of course, I opened my eyes and I was trying to create that light within my hands. And I didn't. So then I went back and then I said to myself, you're here for enlightenment. You're not here to create the light you can see. So we went back to that. And don't forget, Rick, the microphones are not open the entire session. The host is taking care of the microphones in the back. So they get switched open and they get switched closed, sometimes several times. And I don't know exactly what's going on. But anyway, at one point, I definitely felt a pressure on the left side of my brain. And again, it's not any usual pressure you would see. And it only lasted maybe 1 second, 2 seconds, or 3 seconds. Okay. And then later on in that session, if I'm remembering correctly, it was in one of those sessions. Anyway, at one point, I felt a huge amount of energy move from my right half of the brain to the left half of the brain. And I said, that is definitely unusual. I've never felt that before. I was thinking an amalgamation of the brain in a way, or creating this sphere out of the brain. I know he said we need to go more circular than this half sphere. And then at the end of the session, if I'm recalling correctly, I noticed during the day, it was almost as if I had been on a ride, like at an amusement park, where you notice something or energies within your body that weren't there before. Maybe I can describe it as when you get sick and you notice you're coming down with something, you know there's some different energies in the body, but it wasn't a sickness. It was an awareness that there were certain energies running around my body for maybe 8 hours or 9 hours, different energies that, as I said, maybe it was like getting off a motorcycle ride or an amusement park ride, a roller coaster, where you come off and you're not exactly stable. It's like you're still on the ride in a way.
A little bit of vertigo, maybe.
Yeah, something along some sort of different energies within the body. That's what I noticed. And I didn't create a light. And then I was reading the book, book number 1 that Mr. Keshe wrote, The Universal Creation of Orders of Matters. And what it was saying in there is the light that you see is one of the lowest PM6 collections of energies in the spectrum of energies of PM6 in the universe. So the visible light that we see, that we're looking to transmute at the speed, the way the creator moves, that light that you see is not that fast at all. And that's not the light that the creator travels with. But again, during that session, I continued periodically to try to create the ball of light within my hands, but I didn't do it. And I kept reminding myself, you're here for enlightenment. You're not here to create the ball of light you can see. So that was basically my experience. And I think perhaps those energies, as he said, we put energies into the body or touch the energies of the soul. And it takes a while, maybe sometimes even a week or 2 or 3 or 4, 28 days, for the body to accept and work with that energy. So that's why sometimes you don't see the change right away.
I definitely believe that. That's been my experience as well. It's more effective after the workshop than during, in a way.
Yeah, a lot of times he said, we'll come back in a week. We need to let the energy settle. Now, he doesn't say what they're doing in the background, but there's obviously, based on whatever they're reading or whatever they're noticing about your interaction. Remember, they have the soul trapped between the headphones. So no matter which way you move your head, up, down, sideways, the soul is still trapped. And that's what they're working with. And I guess there's a giving and taking going on. All we're doing really is listening and coming in without any major expectations, almost like a blank slate in a way. So that was my experience, but I noticed for at least a day, 8 hours, whatever it was, that there was some different energy sort of circulating around in my body. It didn't affect me negatively or positively that I'm aware of, but I just noticed there were some different energies that I guess I must have picked up from the session or somehow absorbed from the session. Again, everyone has a different experience in these different sessions. And sometimes he'll divide the group up into different sections, maybe even 2, 3, or 4 sections as they're testing and perfecting the system. So that was my experience, but that movement of energy was so distinct. It was almost like you open up, there was a divider, and now that divider is pulled up, and the energy just went from one side to the other in a very distinct, noticeable way. So that was my experience in this. And again, I'm looking for enlightenment, just meaning that you're open to new dimensions of knowledge, to new knowledges. And this is what part of the enlightenment, I think, means, that you're open to receive new knowledge or deeper knowledge on subjects you're already familiar with, or perhaps even a new knowledge that you're not familiar with. Mm-hmm. So that was and I'd encourage everybody to participate in them. And again, Mr. Keshe is going into these sessions on Thursday periodically, that you can experience the same thing or similar things or whatever you want to experience. This he wants you to feel energies, feel emotions, feel part of the elevation of the soul. And this is going to be opened up to the public to take part in, starting this Thursday, December 14th, I believe it is. And perhaps we'll get into it. Maybe someone else would like to share something about their experience.
Well, perhaps not. Okay, well, that I think pretty much covers that workshop quite well. That was a good one you had, Mark, of the transfer from brain to brain, it seems. And that's really seems like you may have gotten your your wish for elevation there.
Yeah, the only confusing part was I'm right-handed, so the left-hand side of the brain is the dominant or the stronger one. But why did the energy transfer? It felt like it transferred from my right side to my left side of the brain.
Well, isn't there right side and left side brain functions? Some of us tend to stay in the right side brain functions more, and some of us tend to stay in the left brain functions more. And one is more artistic and one is more practical.
Yeah,
and
supposedly.
The idea is that we can, through enlightenment, balance that out and we can be an enlightened artist who's also practical and able to function day to day, and without having the best of both worlds, the essence and the physicality combined. And perhaps you've opened that up. Sounds like the barrier between the two, that division has been at least
it just
temporarily
confused me. Yeah, it just confused me because I was thinking the left brain is stronger because I'm right-handed. So the flow should have been from the right-hand side of the head to the left-hand side of the head to the right hand.
And which side of the brain is the one that says, I was thinking that, etc.? So it's the jealous side of the brain that's always trying to figure things out and has all the answers, and it's wondering why it didn't get everything transferred to its side of the brain, perhaps.
Perhaps. I mean, we're a simple and complex structure without a doubt.
Exactly. It's both at the same time. And if we can go with the simple as much as possible and that essence kind of just state of being. I talked to a friend of mine yesterday, and as I've known him for a number of years. He's a farmer, basically. But he's also very smart. But he has a number of emotional issues from childhood. His father is kind of stern, and things were hard around the farm when he grew up, and so on and so forth, as many people do. And so it gave him a bit of an edge, or he was always kind of easily lose his temper and that kind of thing. And being about close to a 300-pound guy who's really strong, and he's out walking 12 kilometers a day at this point, and so on. You don't want to have someone like that be upset. It's a big trauma that happens when things break, people get hurt, so he's learned to kind of keep it down over the years, but he's always had a bit of an edge. But I talked to him yesterday, and he says, I've given up a lot of my attitudes, and things don't bother me the way they used to. I've learned to just let it go, because life isn't worth hanging on to stuff like that. And he's telling me all these things, and I'm recognizing that he's had basically a transmutation of the soul happen to him, where he's now much kinder, gentler, and more acknowledging others and kind of recognizing where they are and so on. At the same time, keeping his full assertiveness, and he can be very assertive if he needs to. It's very much similar to. I was reflecting on the dogs that he keeps, who are Corso dogs that can be very. They're trained to be protectors, and the Roman guards had them as their guard dogs, and so on and so forth. But they're also very kind and gentle, and that kindness and gentleness can come through that essence being. And if that is predominant in that structure, then that's what we see, that unconditional love comes through and things change. It changes the reactions people have, and it changes our internal reactions, and so on. And it was really nice to see him mellowing out with age and recognizing that his own limitations and that he was putting on himself, and basically being the cause of his own grief in many ways, as we all do.
Yeah, that position of balance is a very nice and priceless gift, where if somebody says something that bothers you, you don't internalize it as much, and you can sort of handle it in a way without getting locked into something and then concentrating on it for a while. So part of this again is balancing, I think, between the two souls, the three: the physicality, the soul of the man, and the soul of physicality. So that's a very unique place to be, where not a lot really bothers you. Not that you're ignoring it, but it doesn't have that sort of effect. The boss yelling at you, the partner yelling, things not going exactly right. I think the position of balance is a beautiful gift, especially in the storms that we've all been facing.
Yeah, I've relayed the story of my testimonial of when I used to be dealing with the trolls that would inevitably infest our chats and various groups and so on and so forth. And the trolls could be pretty persuasive and pervasive and really get in your face and start criticizing and pulling at anything that will get you, anything that will get a rise out of you is fair game for a troll. And at one point, this would be probably about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago or so, I was getting a bit overwhelmed by trolls, and we were dealing with some other things, the pedophile crisis at that time, and so on and so forth. And trolls were, it was a big issue to me, and trying to keep control of that and to either rationalize with the trolls or somehow be friends with them, or find out some way they can keep them under control so they're not so destructive. And I mentioned this to Mr. Keshe, that the trolls are quite a problem. I spend a lot of time dealing with them and so on. He had 2 words for me that completely solved the whole troll crisis, and that was ignore them. I thought, well, geez, I can't ignore them. They're always there. They're bothering me. I have to respond in some way. I feel I must respond, right? I have this urgency to respond. Well, it was that I had to control, not the trolls. My urgency to respond, my, this thing of like being some sort of savior or something, that I must respond and with the sword of truth and tell them the way it is and so on and so forth. No, trolls don't care. They just want to bother you. If it bothers you or gets you somehow, then they win, period. And so I had to relearn my thinking on it and my reactions, and after a period of time I could actually ignore them. But it took some time to learn that, because I'd already learned the incorrect way of instantly responding and kind of reacting rather than acting on it. And so now ignore them, and of course the usual, just ban and delete and forget it. Let them go at it in their own private world if they wish to. Just ignore them, and sure enough, 90 to 95% of all the troll action melted away after I took on that attitude. They just gave up because there's no fun in it for them anymore. There's nobody, it's like when your sister or brother or whatever, your kids, and they're really bugging you. Well, if it's bugging you, that they'll keep doing it because it's kind of fun when you're a kid to get someone upset and kind of nudge them a little or whatever, depending on what kind of rivalries are in the household. But it's almost a game in a way. And then they might even go, haha, I gotcha. And you're all upset, and they just say, haha, I gotcha. And then you realize it is a game.
What a nice energy savings for you. I'm sure even after the program ended, the trolls weren't there, but yet you were still entertaining it in your mind, thinking, I should have said this, or next time I'll say this, and this will fix them. What a beautiful savings of your energies to use in a more productive way.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I can just, when I see a troll come up, I just give my soul and hope that they elevate, and then that'll take care of whatever tendencies they have, and one way or another, let them figure it out. So, yeah, it's one of those ancient laws of the universe that what we focus on is what we get. And if you focus on trolls, you'll get trolls. If you focus on unconditional love, you'll get unconditional love. And so there's a lot more good things to focus on in the world besides trolls. So, and a lot of work to be done that does not involve dealing with trolls.
I just got the experience that before we were that far as we are right now, a lot of them were paid just to waste our precious time.
Well, that could be as well.
Yeah.
And if the payers are seeing they're not getting results or not getting the people irritated properly, then they'll stop paying as well.
Anyone else want to come forward? I thought there was someone else who wanted to share something about this experience. But if not, that's fine as well.
All right, well, perhaps we can move on to, maybe we could hear from Karsten. Would you like to show us your flight room or whatever you'd like to call it? Hi.
Everyone. Oh, today is the German testimonial. Okay. Last month I showed my 4 Margraf star formation, and I made the setup in the cellar, and I want to make an I made my setup now in the 2nd floor. They moved from down to up, and I want to show now the room because I made it because I want to separate it from the magnetical field of the Earth more, and want to see what's the effect then. And now I'm showing the room. You can see the chair in the middle and the 3 Margrafs around and one on the top. And as we talked about earlier this day in a private teaching, the idea was to make different heights of the 3 Margrafs on the bottom. And so I took 3 boxes under the 2, and we became different heights and a different strength of the Margrafs. And I sat today half an hour inside, and it was quite relaxing. And we made some tests with other people, and they feel the same. And some of them are very exhausted after that. We think the body has to proceed the energy, and so it takes a few hours to of silent mode, and you have to lay down and relax a little bit, and don't do very physical work or something like that. But everybody felt good, and not really some problems after that. But we are dealing with energies, and so we have to take a little bit a break after we sit in there. Yeah, the test goes on, and if I have new results, I will bring it here. Okay, that's from me.
Okay, just keep the picture up for a minute there, and maybe we can have any questions or whatever. So these magravs are not plugged in, is that correct? You keep them unplugged?
Yes, they are unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps we will plug them into the grid, but not yet. We have to do some tests because we changed the location and want to see, because in the cellar they wasn't in the plug in the grid also, and so we want to make we want to compare the both locations under the same conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Are they trained, or are they just built?
Sorry?
Are they trained so that they produce energy without a grid, or are they just
these 4 magraphs, as I told last month, were built in one box in the same time, so they are connected to each other, and the main reason wasn't to put them on the grid and make to save energy like that. It's for those experiments, but we have the possibility to put them on the grid, because there's a we have the possibility. Yes, there are plugs, and but not yet. We want to make it step by step to have results that we can rely on, and not everything together and mixed, and then we haven't got those clear results.
No, I just mean when you build them, they are just like little babies born. When
Yes.
they are trained, they get adults and expand all their possibilities.
No, we made when they were finished, we made a little party, and we said that we want to make some tests with them, and that they should balance the fields from the people inside, and so on. And the energy wasn't the main issue.
Yeah, I got it. Nice.
Okay, any questions for Karsten on that? I like the pyramid-shaped room. Kind of goes with the pyramid configuration as well.
Right, and he's opening up new dimensions to many people. I think he said there were more than 50 people in his group. And not everyone appears all the time, but
yes.
it opens up for people to experience something, exactly what Mr. Keshe is doing, maybe on a smaller level or a simpler level, but to bring them into the next step. It sort of opens up the understanding that there are other dimensions that you can operate in.
We had here about 10 people which were interested, and they came and sat in there, and everyone felt something. Everyone felt different things, but everyone felt something which is not as even if he had sat on this chair without the magraphs. And that was very impressive for the people who sat there, and they saw it's more than a little wooden piece with a glass over and some black things in there. It has more, and so they begin to think over, and that's all I wanted, that there is more, and we have all a lot to learn, and it works only if we do things and try things, and otherwise we wouldn't gain any knowledge. And today I became a lot of input again in the meetings, and I think over and have a few ideas how to make the next magraphs and to test other things.
I mean, producing energy is just a very little part of the ability of a maggraph. A friend of mine on his little farm, he has several maggraphs, and I just mentioned to him last summer that so many birds and animals around his house appears compared to the other farms and houses nearby, that they feel the fields a maggraph provides.
Okay, very good. Well, if we're done for that, then let's move along. Is there anything else to be said?
Thank you, Karsten.
No problem. You're welcome.
Maybe we'll get an update next month as well.
We want to we want to try some things when the time is when we both have time, and some tests of Bovis energy levels, and yeah, if I have some updates, I will show it. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay, thank you very much, Carsten. Okay, let's carry on here. I'd like to mention before we continue that our background image today is another one from Gianni of his nano-coded, GANs-coded structures that he creates, that he inevitably seems to stand on top of when he finishes them. I guess that's the test for rigidity. And it's just a beautiful picture. It's almost like the Sufi dancer standing on top of a glowing dome of some sort. And I don't know if we're going to hear from Johnny today. I think he's out of range basically for a few more days on a project where they don't have the internet. So I'm sure the next testimonials meeting he will have something to contribute, and probably also in the one of the next two plasma reactor groups he may show up as well. you'll have information on the farming, the results of the farming trials using the GANS technology. Okay, does anyone else have something different they would like to present right now? I know we have Mark. We've got some pictures from Mark and an interesting story. So perhaps we'll dive into that, Mark.
Okay, would you prefer to play the video first of the workshop, or look at the pictures and then play the videos?
Well, maybe we could play the video first, I guess, and that'll give sort of a context to the situation. And I'm not sure how long it goes for, but
oh, just a few minutes, I think, in the workshop. Okay. Not longer than 5 or 6, probably less.
Okay. Okay, so let's get that lined up here. I've got it's the 515th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, starting at about 2:20, 2 hours 20 minutes.
Yeah, 2:18.
Yeah, 2 hours 18. Yeah.
2:18. Okay, and this is Mr. Keshe describing how he sometimes puts GANs on freezers and refrigerators. That's the part that we're looking for.
Yes, and we'll reveal more of the story as we progress here. Okay, so yeah, that's the point, is about GANs on refrigerators. So let's listen to the excerpt from the Knowledge Seekers Workshop.
We've always been there. Is if you caught up with us yet, that's a different story. We've always been there.
Okay, a question from Luís Rios from the Brazilian community about understanding how plasma energy decays into electrical energy. Would transmutation be the opposite movement, where the matter in our body is elevated to plasma?
The energy always, energy of universe converts into energy of matter through frequency. That's where we know the conversion has come. It's like hammering it till you get through it. That's what the frequency is. When you go through that border, if you find out what it is, depends, like a hole and mesh. If you find the right energy to fit through that hole, in that hole it gets converted back into matter energy. And always has a frequency. Frequency is a habit of matter existence. And that's all. Any other question?
Okay, just a couple more to go here. We also have
We'll finish it soon.
a
I had a
hand
bit
that's
rough day today.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
Achilles thus says in the Q&A, who's very excited to hear about the session next week. Is one more question I need to confirm. I have many Magrav coils, Ganses, and nanomaterials in my room. Should I remove them before I participate in the session? Thank you.
Preferably, yes. God knows what you have created and you get connected to. But the thing is, you knowledge seekers have so many ganses everywhere. You're already part of it. You're connected to every bit of it. Coils, magravs, and you keep on building it and keeping it. I have a special jar, one of these 5-liter jars. I have a habit to leave things over fridge and freezers, ganses. because there's always dynamic fields. I enjoy doing it because if you understand it, you can connect and it comes on and it's got a frequency to it and everything else. And I watched this jar of gas meeting, God, it was a long time ago. And every time I look at it, it keeps on changing its energy. I said, I wonder how much of this energy is going to the food inside. And how much of it will affect what's inside. And this is a part of, in a way, I don't need to drink ganses. The ganses already energy is going into all the food in the fridge and freezer. And it's the way it is I don't, just because I know the technology, live by it, but like you lot, my environment is saturated with energies in this form or shape. New systems, new tests, and new things. And when I walk, it's just like a museum of technology. Of them is emitting or receiving energy from it, and they keep on changing color. And I look at them and I say, "Oh, but this jar is amazing." It's something which does not exist in the nature naturally in the body of the man. And I have, over years of experience, managed to replicate it. To the scientific world, it's worth trillions. Every man will give their life to put the hands on it. But it's there, and I watch it, how it changes, how it interacts, and how it interacts, and the reason it interacts. One day it's blue, one day it's green, one day it becomes gray, one day is this color, one day is that color, one day is got a mist over it. And I watch it. In the world of medicine, or in the world of biology, they call them enzymes. I have a knowledge to produce these things which are not natural, is only created inside the body of the man through certain chemical reactions or whatever, and then tell you it does not exist. We cannot, it's just a process of the body of the man which produces them for the need of it. And I produce them very naturally, and I see their energy around me. I feel their energy. And impossible to do a test which is a natural test. If you notice, those of you who attend most of the sessions on Fridays every month, my microphone is totally off. Unless I come to talk, whatever, majority of the time, if you look at the microphone where I work with you, is blank, it doesn't exist. Because if I stay in, I become part of your work and I affect all of you. And we tested this directly, where I put headphones or I come in talking, the whole graph changes. Totally. That's why I don't use headphones. I don't interfere with your sections. I'm just like an observer, knowing, organizing, watching what's happening in the background. Majority of the time, when you look at the sessions, Mine is just a camera or video read. You don't see a headphone. You don't see, because if I leave the headphone, even though you can't hear me, but I receive your energies because it's like you hearing me if I keep my microphone is shut. So I keep out of your what I call business. But if I do, it'll interact with you, and then it interacts the graph immediately. We watch it, and we've done it, we know it. We brought the daughter of Mitra once or twice in the sessions, and we saw the mayhem she created, and we took it off because it gives so much that all of you get touched beyond. And we observe it. So we all get touched by the fields around us in different ways. And you will see, you will understand how much your environment, your gases, your nano-coating, everything affects your emotion, your way you are, and the things you do with it. If you want to be pure, move somewhere else, but you're so contaminated everywhere you are in your houses that it's impossible to be away from something. Even if you bury them 10 meters underground, because you bury them, you touch them, they're connected to you above you. Any other question? Shall we answer the last question and we call it a day?
Yeah, I think that's about it, Rick. But the part we wanted to, well, it's all important, obviously. But the part we wanted to concentrate on was this top of the refrigerator freezer where there's a lot of energies there. And again, this, what Mr. Keshe was talking about, creating an enzyme, he said this is worth trillions. But what I noticed was I had gotten the NEGANs actually in Manchester and brought it home and followed the instructions. It comes in a 250 milliliter container, so it's not too big. And I think if you show the green picture, Rick, this was the first picture. So when I added the 250 ml of distilled water, put it in this glass container, what came from the foundation, added 250 milliliters of distilled water, and let it settle, and let it settle, and let it settle. So this is after about 7 days of settling, maybe even longer. And I said, wow, what an interesting GANS. I haven't seen this color before. And I wanted to try and rebuild all these different joints in the foot and the ankle and the knee and the hip and the shoulders and the wrist and the fingers and the elbows. So I started to use it, went through a test, felt it was very nice feeling, warm, as Rick said, not burning warm, but warm. And it made the joints feel supple. Well, I asked someone else to try it. And if you go, did I give you another picture, Rick, with the green or no? Right. Okay. So I asked someone else if they wanted to try it. They said yes. So I gave them the small bottle, which you can see there next to the main bottle. This is before it changed. And I gave it to them. It was green. I had taken some out of the container, the big container, put it into this container. Anyway, it was green. They were both green. When they brought the container back after a week or 10 days, when I think they used it for 7 days, there was just about almost the same amount. You don't really use much when you're just using drops on pads. But when they handed it to me, I said, wait a minute, I'm thinking I gave it to you, it was green, and you're bringing it back to me, and it's like a rose-colored, brownish color. So I'm thinking this must have gotten contaminated somewhere along the way. I gave them the dropper as well. So I said maybe they put the dropper on the pad or on their skin or somehow in the bottle. And I said, so I poured it out. I poured it down the drain, and I rinsed the small container out and just put it away because I had already done my test with it, and I was waiting till we do the next test of it. And when I went to fill up the bigger jar, maybe a week later, I hadn't even noticed it had changed to brown. I only thought what they brought back to me was this sort of light rose brownish color. When I went to fill up the larger container, I noticed, I said, gee, did this small one contaminate the large one or something? I don't know why I had the contamination on my mind that there was some problem. But I noticed that the large container was now brown, just as the color of the GANs that I had given away, which was green. And then in this last workshop, and you can see it's on top of the refrigerator, and that's why I put the little emblem there. So you could see that the original picture I showed Rick of the green one was in this basically same location, right on top of the refrigerator. Now the GANs material doesn't look like it changed much. Maybe it got a little bit lighter. Now, of course, I didn't make this GANs. This is the first GANs I've ever seen change color. And again, the GANs doesn't appear to have changed colors, but the water, the GANs water has changed color. And you can see the light that I have over here to the right reflecting on the paper. You can see it's like a rose-colored brown. Now, I don't know what this means. Obviously, it's either given energy or absorbed energy. Something's happened. If it didn't do that, it would have stayed the same green color, I would have imagined. The only interesting part of one of the things of this picture, Rick, is that little curve of green, and you see it in front of the bottles and you see it to the right on the white paper. I don't know if that's the refraction of light from one of the glasses, or I'm not exactly sure where that came from.
What color, what kind of beam was it? Was it that little flashlight, or it's a different?
An LED.
This is a different light than the little flashlight you had before in the other picture.
Well, yeah, they're both LEDs though. One's just stronger. One's a single large bulb, and this is just a little battery, like 6 LEDs on a little 9-volt battery.
Would it give the same if you took the bottles away? Does the yellow stay around the rim of the?
Oh, I could try that. I didn't try that. I thought it was some sort of refractory, and then I said, well, maybe it still has a tinge of green because I'm seeing this green on the white paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to tell whether that's part of the original, light from the bulb itself, the reflector of the bulb, or is it reflecting off the bottles themselves, which would be a different, it could be an interesting way to analyze it. Yeah.
But just the idea of a GANs changing color has never happened to me before. And again, I didn't make this GANs. Mr. Keshe made this GANs.
Yeah, we have examples in the past of some of the deuterium GANs can change color, and that's part of that process. And we have examples of the copper GANs turning color sometimes as well, from sort of a greenish to bluish, or without too radical of a change. But this is pretty significant. It's
from going from
change.
That green. And of course, there's a lot of maybe 10 plants in 3 different rooms, not in the same room here, maybe just 2, which I've watered with GANs water. And then there's a large container of CO2, probably 4 feet or 5 feet from it. But that's pure energy. I would think the CO2 would manifest the same color as the GANs if it was copying it in a way. And then on the other side of the room, there's some CuO, there's Cup of Life 1, there's Cup of Life 2. some zinc GaNs. So there's plenty of fields in the environment. But for some reason, I have put GaNs on the refrigerator before, but this has been there for 3 months. I've never left any GaNs on there. I think I was afraid the fields were going to affect it in the wrong way. So if I did have some on the refrigerator, it didn't stay there very long. Maybe it was just to look at it, admire it, so on and so forth. But this green one stayed there since I came back from Manchester. And just maybe 2 weeks ago, I noticed this significant change. As you can see, the GaNs material looks pretty similar. But the plasma water, and both are distilled water, so there's no difference there that I'm aware of.
Did the GaNs material turn a lighter color later, or is it just the way the light hit?
Hair. I don't know. I'd have to look at the pictures because I don't have the original GaNs because it's all in the container. So I just have a picture to compare it to.
Yes, right.
But I thought that was the first time I saw. So it had to either give up energies or absorb energies or a little of both. And he was indicating in the last workshop, not coincidentally, because I've been trying to figure out how did this happen? How did it change? Did I do it? Was it some sort of contamination? And then in this last workshop, what we just heard is Mr. Keshe has experienced this quite often. I mean, this is the first color change that I've seen on this particular product. But I used it after with the brown color or the rose type of color, and it seemed to work the same way because I just did 2 weeks ago my wrists and my elbows.
Interesting.
Yeah, nice supple feeling. Almost as if they've been rejuvenated in a way.
And
a little bit.
In the original container, you used distilled water, I think you said, right?
Well, I put the original plastic container that it comes in. It says to add, there's some GaNs in there, and then there's some water above it. I think it's 50 ml of GaNs, and then there's some water above it. But
what color is the water above it originally?
White.
Okay.
White, clear.
Clear.
I mean, that's what it appeared to. I don't think maybe I'm not sure because the bottle is, I'm not sure if it's opaque. You can't quite see through it. I'd have to pull that bottle out again. But immediately I put it in this container, the bigger container, and added 250 ml of distilled water.
I see. And
it came out this beautiful green.
Turned green immediately, like.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So what this means, I don't know. Is this lost some energy, gained some energy, become more of a giver? Also brought another dimension of fields within it? I'm not sure. But I know it changed. Okay, I just saw you dragging something across the screen.
I took a screenshot of the two images because maybe it would be a good question for Mr. Keshe, actually.
Yeah, could be. And I don't know if it has to do with energies in the environment. Maybe it's got to be probably a combination of all of them. The universe, fields of the freezer and the refrigerator.
Yeah, I mean, things you have available in that environment, like you're not exposing it to the air, because I would think you would be if you had just a simple cork, but you've got a cork with the plastic around the cork to make it airtight, basically, right?
Tight, yeah, it's pretty tight, yep.
Yeah, and so you don't have the interaction with the atmosphere other than opening occasionally to take a sample out and use it or whatever. So that's not really going to be affecting it so much because you might think oxidation of the air or some other interaction there. And so then we're left with, well, what's special about a fridge? We've got some fields happening, like Mr. Keshe was saying. You got things starting up. We've got circuits as part of the fridge. There's electric motors starting and capacitors and storing energy and so on and so forth. And then another thing fridges do is give off heat when they're working, so they periodically are getting sort of hotter and colder in that area. And it's a popular place to put things if you want them to, ferment, or you need a little more heat on something.
Ripened bananas.
Good place to make ganses, because it gets a little closer to body temperature compared to the room temperature. So in that sense, you have some alteration of temperature. But another major thing is you've got vibration happening, and the fridges are always humming and vibrating, and that microscopically gets transformed to the ganses, which are sort of, and the gans water, which is sort of agitated all the time in a way. And maybe through that shaking process, it helps to, mix the fields of the gans water together, and creates some different isotope actions are happening in there, and who knows what else with Mr. Keshe's concoctions. So, but I think he might be able to enlighten us a little more about why the color change.
Well, if you want, Rick, you're welcome to bring it up to him, the story, and this week's workshop, if there's needed to be a place for that. But yes, it would be interesting to hear any sort of explanation. I'm just making an observation. I don't have an explanation.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's quite interesting. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, just thought we'd show the others. Yeah, that one really wasn't very well. That's why I put the paper in back of it.
Yeah, the paper really helps to accent what's going on there.
But a very distinct change. Other than the gans itself, which doesn't look like it had a big change. Maybe slightly, but again, with the light and the different lights, I'm not sure about that. So, quite interesting observation. And it's a demonstration, I think, of the giving and taking of energies. And that's why the colors change. It's either absorbed more or given off more or whatever. Maybe Mr. Keshe I'm sure he could offer a different explanation.
Has it given off all of its good energies, and now it's kind of balanced out and not as effective, but you've already said that it feels like it still works properly.
Yeah, and that was interesting that it happened at the time I gave away, or I gave some to someone else to use. And when they brought it back, that was the first thing I noticed. What happened to the green color? I didn't ask them about it.
So yours had changed color at the same time then?
But I didn't look at it at the same time.
Right.
I emptied out the container, I rinsed it out, put it away, and then I knew I would. It's like, it's there. You don't always look at it. I had been looking at it. I've been admiring the green, checking it day or whatever.
It's really incredible, intense, beautiful green. Yes.
It is really. It looks otherworldly in a way. So that was just something I thought we'd share, and just to see I don't think it's a transmutation of the gans, but there's some sort of energy change. Again, from me, from the ganses in the environment, from the interaction of the electromagnetic fields in the refrigerator, interacting with fields from the universe, a lot of different possibilities, or a combination of all of them.
All right, very good, Mark. I think we should move along here and try to kind of wrap things up soon. But we'd like to hear more testimonials, if anybody has any, to reveal this week, this month. Trying to think if anything's come up recently in the...
And if you're waiting for them to bring in a testimonial, Rick, maybe you want to just review for a minute or two these upcoming workshops. That Mr. Keshe said he was going to do what he's doing in the sessions. I think he mentioned it at least a year or more ago, about how they would hold a knowledge seekers workshop without speaking. And perhaps this is going to be what happens in part of the workshop. It'll be very similar to the sessions. You'll be hooked into systems. They bring people in a certain way with the headphones. So Lisa made a background for that, Rick. Just make people aware that I don't know if it'll be every workshop, I wouldn't think so, but perhaps once a month, once every 2 months, this may be the beginning of a new cycle of processing or elevating or feeling part of this elevation of the soul, feeling the energies and other different things. And again, I think everyone will have a slightly different experience, or even a very profound different experience.
Trying to get that image up, and I somehow lost it or got it mixed up with Marie's, which is the same color here. So let me try to...
I would start the other computer, but it takes 2 or 3 minutes for it to warm up. I think I used that back. I was able to actually copy it, Rick, yesterday.
I think I know where it is here. Just a second. I should be able to access it. Just hang on.
Well, what Mr. Keshe is saying is that you'll be invited in free.
There we go.
Charge. Here we go. Rick, go ahead, if you like.
Well, if you're on a roll, Mark, go ahead, and we'll be invited in free of charge, you said?
Yeah, join us on the 14th of December. This will be the first start of the new cycle of teachings. I think he said in the workshop, experience the energies of the universe. I think this is also what Karsten had explained, and I know Pavel came into one of the meetings this week from Poland, and he said they had some very interesting experience and even some scary experiences in their sessions when they had built magravs. One person felt they didn't have to breathe anymore. I don't know how long that lasted. But anyway, it's a very similar experience, or even probably more enhanced, I would say. Experience the energies of the universe, expand your soul. Or partially, I think he's saying a partial expansion of your soul. The 516th, which is coming in just a few days, Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Bring yourself, your earphones, and your good intentions. Don't miss this opportunity. Will not work with a recording. So you have to be there in the session to participate in this.
Now, the question came up, does it work on YouTube and live stream as long as it's live and not the recording?
Maybe he'll ask everyone to switch over and join on the Zoom room. Or maybe there's a whole different setup for this.
Yeah, I got a feeling it'll work with earphones, whether you're in the other workshops or the other sessions or not. But it's an excellent question. We do need to clarify that, and in order to transfer people over from YouTube or live stream if they so wish to participate.
Right, and the other question was, do you need a cell phone, or can you join on a laptop, an iPad, or a desktop, I guess?
I believe that was answered. I think that the desktop was fine, as you just use headphones or earphones, preferably.
And perhaps you'll be hearing more testimonials out of people going through. Maybe he'll do it once a month, once every 6 weeks, twice a month. I don't know.
Maybe
But
every
these
week
sessions,
it might be
yeah,
installed
I
as
think
part
that
of
was,
the
yep,
workshop.
no question. I think that was an excellent way to proceed.
It's a great way to get people to pay attention in a way. It's, for example, in the monthly workshops that he does, the ones we just reviewed, you're basically in one position or at least not moving around. It would be hard to do and not make noise while you're moving around or doing something or whatever. It's not the intention to sort of do it as a side issue. You're supposed to be, quiet and focused, basically. So that means usually your body is not moving around so much. And that's kind of the idea of meditation. You take on a posture and keep in that posture, and don't succumb to fidgeting and various abstractions of thoughts and or distractions of thoughts, and just generally keeping it together in a sort of meditative, quiet space. And that, for a lot of people, is enough of a shock to their system to make the soul kick in and become more prevalent, because anything that the physicality puts out, fidgeting and various twitches that we have and all the different moving around, and most of us like to kind of keep moving. If we don't move, then we tend to fall asleep. So the idea is to keep your attention and keep attentive and be there for the workshop as much as possible. Or if you're on the other hand, there's something to be said for the dream state as well. But the idea is not to be fidgeting and moving around so much. And by doing this moment of silence, it basically halts our busy mind, which thinks of all kinds of things when words are being heard, and allows us that space. It gives space for us to open up and allow our essence to come through and do its thing. Lets the soul do the searching.
So a beautiful gift at Christmas time from the Keshe Foundation to all the knowledge seekers and all the participants who'd like to start to open up to this new understanding of energies, a new dimension, an elevation of the soul. And again, for people listening for the first time, well, you're talking about the physicality, the soul of physicality, the soul of the man. People don't realize they carry all these things with them. And this is quite a shocking revelation just in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just the first step of what he's talking about, the numbers you call when you want to be fed or want to whatever, receive energy of any kind you need. You just call this number or that number. So I guess this is just the start.
Yes, I think he talked about the ones that bought the interactive or the wellness package, that they would also start to go through the actual wellness system twice a year, I think, as a preventive maintenance sort of program. Like you go in for a small tune-up or a large tune-up twice a year to prevent anything that would come forward. And I think what Dirk was saying there about, yes, they'll have numbers for feeding and other things, these apps. I think this is going to come into play soon. but I don't know for sure. Where you get a certain app and you dial this number for wellness, or you connect here for feeding, or you connect somewhere else for perhaps transmutation or transportation. The system is just in its infancy, but it's the most advanced system that's ever been on this planet.
1-800-WELLNESS. Yeah, I can see it now. It actually works.
Yeah, that is really an amazing discovery. No question about it.
And that might be part of that chain reaction that will take place on this planet. And, you know, we don't know how it's going to take place, but we know it's taking place. And it could be through this insurance program. Maybe all the insurance brokers of the world, health organizations, suddenly decide, oh, this is a good plan, we can make some money off it, or whatever they figure on it. And then bingo, everyone gets exposed to the radiations, the good radiations, you know.
And just like the video you played in the beginning, Rick, about satellite souls, maybe he's sort of crafting, in a way, some portable, remote walking wellness centers that had a lot to do with the workshop, I think. And just meeting somebody and knowing, in a way, you feel what they need and are able to create plasmas within you and give it to them. Not to see the change immediately, but it's for the receiver to see the change in the time to come. So perhaps this is also part of the expansion of the knowledge, that the satellites are going through a process here as well, or crafting new satellites to be able to reach and touch. And as you say, Rick, it becomes exponential as people start, or what Dirk was saying as well, with this giving and receiving unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it looks like a snowball on top of a mountain, beginning rolling down, becoming bigger and bigger.
Yes, soon the snowball becomes the mountain, and then becomes the entire Earth.
So we just thank Lisa for putting this together, wherever you are.
Yes, and hopefully we'll have another one for the next workshop, if it all works out. Okay, well, I think it's getting time to wrap things up here, if there's no further things to declare.
Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you, Dirk, and thanks to everyone for sharing today. We had some great testimonials, and managed to fill up 2.5 hours again of some pretty interesting stories. So again, we hear and see and experience and feel the wonders of the plasma technology as unveiled by Mr. Keshe through our programs here. It's quite amazing and wonderful process. And it's not like Mr. Keshe has the monopoly on this process. The process of transmutation on this of beings on this planet is ongoing and escalating, and comes from many sources. Well, one source, but many ways. One source, many roads.
I guess there were people around in the past who already had this knowledge but left, as he said once.
Well, they used to say all roads lead to Rome, but now I think it's more like all roads lead away from Rome and toward oneself. and it's a different situation. So we are lucky to be here at this point of the history of this planet. A lot of action going on, and it's up to us to partake in as much depth as we wish, but it's certainly becoming available for all.
And Rick, what's the next public program you'll be gracing us with?
Our next public teaching workshop will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that will be tomorrow, Tuesday, December 12th. And it starts at the 4 p.m. Central European Time with members of the Universal Council. And that's always interesting as well, with many different perspectives on the same thing, only different, you could say.
And we'll be covering a little bit more about Mernez's question, which caused that background to get made by Lisa. So that's one of the things that'll be covered there, and a number of other topics as well.
All right, good. Anything else we might have left out, Mark?
Not that I'm aware of, Rick.
Anybody else have anything they would like to say before we end our lovely show here? Alrighty, without further ado, I'll end with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit, music version. And I wish you all a wonderful day, and see you in the next public teaching workshop, hopefully, if not before then. Thank you, Mark, for being here today and being remarkable in your co-hosting. And
easy as pop.
Again, thank you to our presenters today as well. Okay, bye everyone.